Today I want to talk about why I personally am so willing to buy Call of Duty every single year over and over and over again. And this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while now, mainly because I've been spending a lot of, I've always really spent a lot of time outside of the Call of Duty community and more inside, I guess, the gaming community as a whole, just where all of people from all games just, I guess, are around. And this is a very interesting place, but one thing I find quite annoying a lot of the time is how negatively it seems that this gaming community views Call of Duty, and I guess that's not really the problem of this video. People can dislike Call of Duty if they want. That's not really the problem here. I can't tell people what to like and dislike. It's not entirely up to me. That's entirely up to themselves. But you know, I do have my problems with it, especially, and this is some problems I see all the time with people inside the gaming community when they judge Call of Duty. And the worst one is when they judge Call of Duty purely off a campaign. That's ridiculous. There's 3 modes inside each Call of Duty game that are just as important as each other, and this is the other problem because people don't realize there's 3 modes inside Call of Duty every single year, because even if they recognize multiplayer, they'll ignore zombies, and I find that utterly ridiculous because they do not realize how important zombies is to Call of Duty every single year. It's just as important as campaign and multiplayer now. But anyways, that's a little off topic, but regardless, you could dislike Call of Duty if you want. I don't really care. But one thing I get very annoyed with is how they talk about the Call of Duty player base. And you know, you've heard all the dumb things, and this isn't to say everybody in the greater gaming community does not like the Call of Duty fan base. Of course, this is just for some people, and of course you're sure you've heard all the other things. They're all fanboys that buy anything that has caught on it, or they don't really understand why people are so willing to play the same game every year, and they rather say that they're oblivious to why they do it, or they'll say that they're just a bunch of fanboys for the most part. And I want to talk about exactly why I don't think those, I guess, what would you call them, opinions aren't really correct for at least me, and I imagine this could relate to a lot of Call of Duty players. And I just want to give you my perspective on why I'm so personally willing to buy Call of Duty so often every single year. And how I'm going to do that, I'm going to go through 3 different main reasons why I do so. And of course, there's a bunch of minor ones that I don't want to go over to, but these are the 3 main ones I can think of that people don't really realize for Call of Duty, and why I find it so fun to buy every year and play every single year. But with that said, I do have to make one thing clear, that I do have another main reason why. Obviously, my channel is now very much based off of Call of Duty, so that would give me 4 major reasons, but I'm not really going to touch on that one because that one's newer for me, and I don't think it will relate to most Call of Duty players. But with that said, let's actually get into this video. So the first reason is something that I don't know why people don't realize. It seems pretty obvious to me, and I think it's pretty obvious to really everyone who's ever touched Call of Duty before. But we know every single year that Call of Duty is going to drop a good, solid game every single year. And even if you don't think Call of Duty is good, but most people would at least consider it a good game every year just because of how fun this game is. But even if you don't, you at least can agree that it's a solid game every year. We know what we're getting, we know it's going to be entertaining, and it's just a solid game. It offers everything that we know inside Call of Duty every single year, and it's just going to be fun every single year for most people. And that's just something that is pretty obvious to most people. And the reason why this is so important, especially to me and a lot of people, because I imagine that most people have to think about their finances more than anything, and 2 of these reasons really have to deal with financial reasons. And this is super important to me and has always been important to me. And this is because when I look at $60 in my hand, and maybe this is just me, I'm really conservative with my money, but I want to know that this $60 is going to go to something that I know I'm going to like. And that's why it's so hard for me to go to new IPs and new titles, or titles I've never played before. And I do know that that's how you even get into, that's how I got into Call of Duty in the first place, and it's not like I don't do that at all. I get into new IPs, more recently Sea of Thieves, and I actually want to touch on Sea of Thieves in a little bit also, but regardless, it's just hard for me to go take gambles with this multiple times, and that's why it's so hard for me to get into new titles and new IPs for at least me. And just knowing that Call of Duty is something that I know is going to be good every year, and I know is actually going to be fun every single year and worth the $60, that's what makes me so willing to buy this game every single year. And that's one of the major reasons why, just the fact of knowing that I know this $60 in my hand is going to go to good use, and I know it's going to be worth every single cent of it. And that is super important to me, and I believe millions of other people. And I just think that's one of the major reasons for so many people. Now, don't get confused. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try new IPs. Again, like I said, I tried Sea of Thieves recently, and it was okay. I'm all for you go try new IPs, but you have to understand that most people can't try that many new IPs, and if they gamble every single time and they end up not liking any of the games they bought, then they're just stuck with no games to play, and they just sit there like a bunch of idiots not enjoying any of the games they have. But if they go and make sure they save $60 for a game they know is going to be good, like Call of Duty, then they know they're at least going to enjoy that game, and then they could spend the other amounts of money that they have for all the other games and just go ahead and try new IPs with that. But they always have to have money on the side for Call of Duty because they need to know that there's going to be a game for them to play that year. But I find that very important to a lot of people, and I think that this just doesn't only apply to Call of Duty. This could apply to tons of other games. It could apply to Battlefield, Destiny, maybe Halo, and just a lot of other games, GTA especially. This is just very important for a lot of games. And again, I can't stress enough, I'm not saying don't try new games. That is the stupidest thing anybody could say. It's just, you always have to make sure that you have enough money for Call of Duty, because you need to know that there's going to be a game for you to play every year. But anyways, with that one out of the way, the next one I want to talk about, it doesn't really have to do with financial reasons, and I just think that this is something that goes past a lot of people, and maybe this doesn't apply to most people who even play Call of Duty, but I imagine it does. But it's the idea of how Call of Duty just works. It has three main modes. It has campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. And what's so cool about this, even though they use all the exact same mechanics, the same guns and all that stuff, well, I guess not the exact same mechanics. Zombies is very different from the other two, but similar mechanics, at least the gameplay mechanics, like the controls, I guess you would say. I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting a little off topic right now, but just having these three very different but very similar modes just makes it so fun. You have campaign that hopefully has a good story for you to just play very linearly, and this is something that a lot of games don't have. They don't give you this linear story mode anymore, but Call of Duty still does, and a lot of people still like it. I personally think it needs to change up, but a lot of people still like the campaign, and it sells a lot. And the thing is, with campaign, it gives you that option to just get immersed into the story that they're telling there just very linearly, and then just play the gameplay that's just really like a flashy and bright, where you just have fun, and it makes you feel like a super soldier. You know, you have that, I guess, action movie experience inside the campaign. And in multiplayer, you have this rather competitive, if you want to play competitive, or you just, you know, I can't really, everyone already knows everything about multiplayer. I don't want to spend too much time, but regardless, you know, you can play with your friends. It's just like multiplayer is multiplayer for most games. So yeah, I don't think I need to explain why multiplayer gives you a different experience compared to campaign. And then the last one, this one again is one that people outside of the Call of Duty community, and some people even inside the Call of Duty community, really ignore, and that's zombies. But zombies is just so unique. I've never played another game remotely similar to zombies. And well, I guess the main mechanics like the waves and zombies, that's normal, but the quests and the Easter egg steps and the boss fights, well, given I don't want every Easter egg to have a boss fight, but that's an entirely different problem that I'll talk about in a separate video, again, for the building time, but all besides the point. But zombies just gives you an entirely different experience with the same exact game mechanics that you have in campaign and multiplayer, of course, with its special mechanics inside of it. And it's just so cool that it does that. You just have these three different experiences, and what makes it so great is that if I get bored of multiplayer, I jump over to the zombies. If I get bored of zombies, I jump over to multiplayer. And if I just for some reason get bored of both of them, I could jump over to the campaign and finally do it. That's really what I do, and that's why it keeps me entertained for so long. And I just think it's such a perfect formula to have this 3-mode formula, and it just works out perfect for me. But third reason I want to talk about here is the amount of content you would get with Call of Duty every single year, and this includes the DLC season. And the reason this works out so perfect is because the game alone comes with a ton of content all by itself. You buy the game and you're not going to get bored of it fast. Most people, unless they grind the heck out of the game, are not going to get bored of multiplayer campaign and zombies really fast. And even if you do start to get bored of it, after a while, you know you're going to have the DLC season. And this is what works out perfect, because it always feels, at least for me, that once I'm starting to get bored of this Call of Duty, the DLC drops and it replenishes everything I really want to do with Call of Duty. And then the next DLC, and what makes it even more perfect is that once you're done with the 4th DLC, what's coming out? The next COD game. And it just works out perfect because you never feel like you don't have content to play with. Now, considering that's a little changing now because everybody else is moving to these seasonal events, but you can see that Call of Duty is also keeping up with that, so it's going to get even more content in Call of Duty every single year. And of course, that's very important to know that this money I'm going to drop on this game is going to not only be worth it, but it's going to last a really, really long time. And this is a problem I have with a lot of other games that I do drop $60 on and do enjoy them, and this really relates to Sea of Thieves, because I've recently bought this game, but now, even after 3 games, I really don't have no motivation to go back to that game. And maybe that's just because I don't like those type of games, even though I was having a blast playing it at first. And maybe it's because I don't have any real players to play it with, and it's mainly multiplayer focused, or co-op focused, I should say. But regardless, still not the point. The point is that I know that this money that I'm going to drop on it is not only going to be worth it, but is going to last a very long time. And I find these to be the 3 most important reasons for why I'm buying Call of Duty, except for me now, because now I make Call of Duty videos all the time, so that's another important reason. So I would have 4 reasons, but regardless, not really a part of the point here. And those are really the reasons why I'm so willing to buy this game every year. And I want to hear from everybody here. I want to hear from people who actually buy Call of Duty every year. Tell me your experience and why you're so willing to buy this game every year. Maybe you're casually buying Call of Duty just when the title you like comes out. I want to hear why you buy it that way, or anything like that. And even especially if you're outside of the Call of Duty community, and rather you haven't bought Call of Duty forever, or you never have, I want to hear why exactly you're not willing to buy Call of Duty. But anyways, that's about it for me. And if you guys did enjoy the video, then go ahead, do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, watch my video multiple times over, make 3 other accounts, watch my videos and subscribe with those accounts also, and that will be it. But anyways, I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.